Alright, so we've been running this thing with this temporary setup with just this jumper wire going over to this ignition coil, and this is an ignition coil off a mid-70s Harley-Davidson Sportster, and it works really well actually on this tractor. But the problem is we've got it just kind of temporarily mounted here, and we can't shut the hood correctly, and we don't really like the routing of these wires. So what we're going to do is found online a cheap import replacement for the original style coil that was in here. This ended up costing like 25 bucks shipped. We did find other people advertising coils that were supposedly replacements for the original Kohler coil that were much more expensive. This one must have been based on the cost. This must be a cheap import from China. I can't imagine that it's anything other. This is from a place called the ROP Shop, Rugged Outdoor Products. We appreciate your business. You got a phone number on here and returns and everything. You got a website too. So I wonder if you order direct from them whether or not it'd be a little cheaper than eBay. It should be, because they're paying eBay listing fees and stuff. Well, final value fees actually is more correct. But let's take a look at this. So this is supposed to sit right in this indentation here on the intake manifold, and then there's a clamp that goes over it, and that'll be an improvement, provided that coil actually holds up. So just take this. I had to get a wrench because the bolt head on the other side's turning. All you're gonna do is take just this one out, and then that should be. And then be careful, don't break this wire. You can use a nut driver from there to loosen the screw that's on the other side here. And take the wire off, okay? So you do that. While you're doing that, I'll go see what we've got for hardware for that. Go, Mark. I got this container right here, and this looks like it's the last of the hardware I had.
Okay. It's way too small.
And I see a couple screws that look like they might be the ones for this. So.
Oh my goodness.
It's bad.
None of these fit.
Never the one you go. Never the one you're looking for, right? You know what you mean. See, there's one. I kept it just so that we know what size it was, but it's snapped off. But I bet you one of these three right here, two of these three probably are gonna fit here.
Okay, finally.
Yep, we're good to go. There's two. Actually, you know what? I'll take that washer off.
Why?
Oh, you know what? The new one comes with new ones. Go ahead and leave that washer on there.
Can you take that thing out?
Oh, just unplug it from the spark plug. There you go. Okay. And
Can see it?
you already put the nut back on there?
Yeah, I'm gonna tighten it.
You don't have to tighten it all the way, just enough so it doesn't fall off.
Yeah.
Hold on, I want to make sure I'm not cross-threading this. It's like a self-locking nut. That's why it's hard to turn. All right, go ahead. All right. Now I know what you were saying. You were saying that when we put this coil on, it's going to be hard to get the screwdriver down there to make the starter work, because we still haven't sorted out the starter problem.
Yeah.
So do you want to try and take this cover off right now and see if we can't figure out what's going on with the starter?
Yeah, I would like to do that.
All right. You want me to unscrew these two while I'm here waiting?
Sure.
Hey, well, we got this cover off on the side here, and we got some good news. Turns out the problem with the new Chinese starter isn't the starter being defective. It's that it didn't physically fit in here exactly right. It was a little long, and one of the other things we just discovered is the little plastic nose end cap that goes on the end there to keep rust from forming on the spring assembly and everything is actually rubbing the teeth on the flywheel. So what happens is when this goes to kick out, it's actually getting stuck right there. You can actually see the scoring. Let's see if I can get in there. Zoom in. You can actually see the score marks where it's actually been rubbing. So if we take that cap off, I bet you this will work perfectly fine. All right, so now with that removed, to focus, there we go. So now with that cap removed, there's clearance in there, and I bet you this is going to work perfectly fine. The only concern I have is that the job that cap does is it protects that area there from dirt, debris, and rust. But there's not really much we can do about that because the way the cap is made, if I cut the cap shorter, I will end up having to cut off the section of the cap that actually keeps it, that clips onto this little slot. So that's as good as it's going to get. I think maybe we'll put some WD-40 on there just for good measure, because WD-40 displaces water and it's not sticky like grease. Oh, looks like we spoke too soon. I thought that was what was wrong. Sure seemed like that's what was wrong, but nope, that is not working. Wonder why. Alright, so something very strange is going on here with this Bendix gear on this starter, because if we manually just help it pull away from the position that it starts in, its resting position, you see how that's moving freely? Okay, now I just tried putting chain lube on there, thinking that, well, chain lube doesn't fly off and that'll help keep that lubricated in case it was a lubrication issue. But the reality is, no matter how loose this is, if we try and start it, when it slams back to the start position, or the rest position, for lack of a better term, it's getting hung up somehow. So like right now, it's nice and loose, okay? I guarantee if I crank it, it'll start. But as soon as I stop, and this slams back like this, like right now, I wonder whether or not it's going to be stuck. Let me just check. Try it. All right, now that it went back on its own, and now it's working. Oops, it's my flashlight. You got a mark? Hold the flashlight, right? There we go. See? Stuck again, right? Now if I try and manually rotate it, look at it, the whole starter is turning and it's not unscrewing like it should. It's like it gets stuck there. So what I'm wondering is, if, I notice there's quite a gap between the back side of the flywheel here and the teeth before they mesh. So I'm wondering if there's a way we could get this to stay out a little further on its own. So if I pop that like that, sorry I didn't get you, did I? I thought I hit you with the handle of the screwdriver. There we go. So see it's out right there? See how it's out? Alright, so I got an idea how we might be able to fix the starter. What I need to do is I want to try and put a washer between the back side of the Bendix gear and where it butts up against the thicker part of the shaft near the motor, so that doesn't return all the way back. And the problem is, to put a washer on there, I got to take the gear off. To take the gear off, I've got to take the nut off the end. And if I take the nut off the end, I can't remove the gear because the flywheel's in the way. Long story short, there's no way to do what I want to do without taking the whole starter out. The only way to get the starter out is to take the motor out again, and we just don't want to do that. So my idea is, if I could put something that would act as a spacer behind there, like a washer, but something that I could put around the shaft that wouldn't need to go over the shaft to be installed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of this number 12 wire. This is probably number 14. Number 14 copper wire. It's got insulation on it. I'm going to cut a piece of this. I'm going to see if I can wrap it around the back, wrap it around the shaft behind the gear, and put a twist in it so it stays on there. That'll act as a spacer. Over time, this plastic is probably going to get rubbed off. But at least maybe for the next, couple months until warm weather's here and we feel like going through the trouble of taking the whole motor out again. Should work. So for starters, I'm going to cut it fairly long so that I can work it behind there. I started to install the ignition coil and discovered a problem with that. Another Cantonese conundrum, if you will. So, you like that? Because Canton, or whatever is in China, Cantonese conundrum. I thought it was good.
Okay, it's not your best joke.
Not my best joke.
That was a joke.
Your face is a joke. No, I'm joking, sorry.
You say it so fast, it's like you might as well not even bother saying it. I'm joking, sorry. Yeah, it's like
I'm sorry, Aiden. Yeah, I'm gonna give
Just
you a big
just
hug.
a way to,
Oh, do you want some kisses too? Come here.
Have a nice trip. See you next fall. Does your leg hurt?
camera's on.
Did you record that?
Oh, yeah.
All of this is being recorded as idiots.
Sorry.
I bent a hook in it so I can get it around the back side. Alright, I have some really long skinny needle nose pliers. These are duckbill. See how they get a wide?
Yeah.
I need to get the really long skinny ones.
You couldn't find those last time.
In here. Something I don't like about this flashlight. Whoops.
Alright, hold the flashlight. No, because I'm probably gonna be in the way.
Yeah. What I can do is if I can put it like I had it before. As long as it fell down before, it's because we were cranking the engine. Otherwise, it stayed up there pretty decent. There we go. Alright, there we go. So now what I've done is I've managed to wrap it around the back side. The reason why I'm using this wire is because it's solid copper wire and it bends and keeps its form. Because I would never, if I fished a wire back there, I would have a real hard time getting it to come back out towards the front on its own and grabbing it. By doing it this way, it should...
You looking for your cutters?
No, I'm looking for these. So now I'm going to take these duckbill ones, and if I grab the two ends of this wire, if I can grab them together, I might actually be able to start twisting them. Is that the smoke alarm?
I think so.
Mommy's cooking something. What's this lever for?
I'm a little busy right now, Aiden. What would you say?
I said, I didn't even say anything. She said, "What now? Get out." Then I asked her and she said no.
Oh, well, you left that part out. Alright, so now
Right now.
not quite where I want to be. Twist it a little bit more. Get that.
Don't touch me.
Get that seat behind there. Alright, so here's what it looks like. This is the twisted wire, and by grabbing the ends and twisting and twisting and twisting, I was able to actually get that wire to wrap itself around and stay wrapped around that shaft. So when that shaft spins, it's gonna cut into the insulation on that wire initially, but it should eventually free up. But as long as it stays small enough in diameter so it doesn't want to fall out of there, I don't really care about that. And what that does is that actually keeps this gear out almost, well, almost to where it engages the flywheel, but not quite. So now, let's see. I'm going to disconnect this wire off the ignition so that I can make sure there's no spark, because I don't want it to start. I just
won't be any spark.
Yeah, that's right. I took all that. I took all the wires off, but I don't even want any power going to the ignition coil. See what just happened there?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fail.
What happened?
The wire flipped up out of position. The end of the twisted ends of the wire flipped up out of position. That's causing that gear to stay engaged to the flywheel, which if the engine had started right now, that would have been really bad. So that is not gonna work unless we figure out a way. Oh, I know what to do.
Cut the wire.
Well, I can't get in there and cut. If I cut the wire, if I cut all those twists of wire off, there's gonna be nothing to keep that wire from just falling off.
Not all of it, just enough to pass that thing.
No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this back down. I'm going to get it on the other side of this cover right here, and I'm going to bend it underneath. All right, we're going to have to give up on this for now because it's starting to get dark. Sun's going down. It's starting to get cold again. So let's shift to the problem here at hand with this Chinese ignition coil. The problem is the new wires that came with the coil.
Right there.
All right. See how I've got this extended out here? I had to pull that out. I actually ended up tearing the boot a little bit because it's very hard to slide this boot. I think they put a little bit of adhesive on there to actually keep that from moving. This is how they come. You see how that's not sticking out at all? Well, the problem that causes is when you go to put this on, okay, get this on here like you would think it's supposed to go, okay. That's as far as the boot slides on. You see that gap right there? If you listen closely, you can actually hear that that metal part on the inside is not fully seated. Hear that? So this should be in like that. Right now, it might not even be in far enough to make contact at all. In other words, what could be happening is it might be that the spark's going to be trying to jump from that down into that metal that's way down recessed in there. The reason why this boot won't go on far enough, if the boot went on all the way like this, I think it would be fine. But the boot can't go on far enough because the way they plastic injection molded the case, this boss, or this protuberance, I can't speak, this piece of plastic that sticks out actually doesn't allow enough clearance for the rubber of this to fit in there. So to get around it, I'm going to put these on so that they don't seat all the way on, but I want that metal piece in there to be further in, so I need that metal piece right there to stick out proud of that. So if I take the other one that I already doctored up right here, so let me make sure I got the coil oriented the way I want it. So that's going to be,
No, flip around.
I had it the other way, right? Yeah. So this is going to go like this. So this one is going to be for the long wire. So now if I take this,
That's
now I could stick this way in there.
It looks like it bent.
Doesn't it? How the hell did that happen?
Did you bend it?
No. Oh, you know what? When I grabbed this to pull this out, I bet you it bent a little bit. So I'm just gonna lightly, there we go. Back like that, all right? Now, take this. All right, now I could stick this in so that it feels like it's seating all the way, hopefully. See, now when I push in on the wire, I don't hear it.
Going in.
I don't hear it making that noise like it's sliding out and going in.
Can you wrap it around?
Well, we can put that on as soon as we get this on. Okay. Let's get this on first. So what I gotta do is I gotta get that to stick out from there further. And the only way I can figure out to do that, grab this with needle nose pliers and pull on this to get this to go back. And it's tough, it's sticky. Just doesn't want to move. I could pull this away, so it almost feels like, you know, it's not glued, but they must have put something on there to make it. Either that it's just the dry rubber and the dry rubber doesn't want to slip, I don't know. But I hate that why can't it just work, you know, right? Why can't it just be made right in the first place? See, the temptation is to grab the boot at the back here and pull on it, but that's how I ripped the other one. So come on, move, move. Stick this in there and run it around to see if I can break any adhesive that might be in there free.
And if you break that, no, like the plastic, what would happen?
Well, the rubber?
Yeah.
Well, the rubber boot is there to protect and keep water and condensation and moisture from getting in there, which you know wouldn't be good. So.
Don't pop that plug out.
Well, I'm not trying to. Just trying to get that to move back a little bit.
Guess you have to
Just
pull
get the
it.
cooperate. There it goes. Ripped it again.
Oh, great.
I think the ripping it's the only reason it moved on the other one. Couldn't get, there you go. See how it just moved? Now when I push this forward, watch, it'll be forward. It'll be, see? That's what I wanted. I would have loved that to have happened without having ripped that. But you know what? It's still a good seal. Can't see it from my house.
Yeah, you can. Your house is maybe 16 feet away.
Yeah. You know, I could feel that one make a good seat when I put that one in. This one I'm kind of iffy on.
I can't hear anything.
Huh?
I just got chills.
I pulled the boot all the way back now so I could stick this in there without the boot in the way to see if this is making a good electrical connection. And now look.
It's not.
Lousy. Because that is now deformed or a little bit bent. So I'm just going to try and bend this back carefully. Flipping thing. There we go. All right, there we go. That's good. That's a good connection. Now I just got to slide this boot back down so I can get the boot to go over it. Because the boot does two things. The boot keeps dirt, moisture from getting in there, but the rubber boot actually also helps, it grips onto this and helps keep that from trying to wiggle its way out over time. All right, I think that's good. I think we're good.
Okay, wrap it around.
Oh, you know what? Forgot to tighten this before we put it in.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
The
Are
cap,
you?
Cap just went off. Came off.
What cap? Oh, you kidding me? What a piece of crap.
Wait, did it just break?
There's barely any adhesive or whatever on here that they use to get this to glue on here. This is potted. So what they do is they put the coil inside this plastic case.
Yeah.
Then they fill the case with this black goop.
Yeah.
And then the goop solidifies into this epoxy. So this probably is not that big of a deal that this came off. This is still waterproof more than likely. It's just kind of annoying that, again, that's how crappy this thing, what a piece of crap this is. Tell you, ought to be a law. Oh, Why don't I tighten this while I got it out instead of like for the 50th time getting it wrong? Where's the yellow one? Got it. Ah.
No, I'm just. I think it should be a lot.
Funny. Ha ha.
We're saying it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Daddy, I got this side. You do this one.
All right.
Well, I got that one.
This wire goes through here. All right, I'm going to hook this back up. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna hook this up to the spark plug.
Yep, go ahead.
Good connection.
Huh?
Good connection. Want me to throw this?
I didn't finish tightening this one.
Want me to
did I?
throw this cheesy cap away? Nah, let's keep it for now. Just in case we need it.
Oh, probably just fried the coil.
Wait, hold on.
This was a 20-second coil. We should have 10 more seconds before it dies. Ready?
Yeah. Gave it a little bit more.
Oh, our lovely flipping. You kidding me?
Piece of junk.
That's driving me crazy.
It's me. Let me tell you.
Chinese starter, Chinese coil. Yeah, we'll have to get a new carburetor for this thing.
Where did the blue go?
Well, all right. That's got to be a wrap.